Welcome to the Brilliant Fertility Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Katie Rose, and this podcast exists to help illuminate the path ahead of you. With expert interviews, clinical pearls, and real client success stories, my intention is to bring you hope for what's possible on this journey and to give you tools and resources to navigate the ups and downs on the road before you. If you find this podcast helpful, don't forget to subscribe on your favorite listening platform. And I have a big request. If you have a minute, can you leave us a 5-star review? And let us know, what did you learn? What did you come away with? Did you leave with that spark of hope? This helps more people like you find the podcast. My mission is to support as many humans as possible on their path to become parent. And by you sharing and subscribing, you're part of that mission too. And I'm so grateful for you for being here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Dr. Nicole Woodard, my friend and colleague who I'm so grateful to have here today. I feel, Nicole, like you have lived so many lives that it's almost hard to choose just one of the many stories that has made you such a powerful practitioner, a good friend, fertility warrior, mother. I mean, there's so many, but I'll just start by telling people who you are. So Dr. Nicole is a physical therapist, success coach, and nervous system expert. She combines healing the physical body, the nervous system, and mindset growth. She's got more certifications than I have fingers and toes. I think we're like over 40 certifications here on trauma-informed life coaching and clinical hypnotist. She has a custom protocol called the Happiness Cycle that helps leaders do more and help more people without the cycles of burnout and anxiety. And I'm so very, very honored to have you here.
I'm so honored to be here. I love when we get to catch up and whenever other people get to have the insight. It is exciting too.
Yes, absolutely. So, given this is a fertility podcast, I always like to just ask, if our guests have any personal experiences with a fertility journey that they're open to sharing, and how that might have also led to where you are here in the world today.
Yeah, so I always say my fertility journey was the thing that gifted me the rest of my life. And it was a journey I would not wish on anyone. And I know it's a journey that a lot of your audience and obviously the people that you help and support are going through. So my husband and I got married. We actually just celebrated our 14-year anniversary 2 days ago.
Congratulations. That's do some secrets of marriage longevity next.
And so we went through and we immediately, I come from a very small town and we were like, let's have kids. Let's get started. And so we jump off into the deep end and I think it's just going to happen. And we're 6 months in, nothing. But all the doctors say you have to wait a year. And so people start giving me tips. All my friends are pregnant and they're like, well, you got to keep your legs up in the air for at least an hour afterwards. And you have to have sex in all these different positions. And so we're trying everything. Nothing. So we go into the doctor at a year and he says, well, I'm sure everything's fine. Let's do a test. So we did our first round of testing and went to our first fertility doctor, and he looks at all the tests and he says, everything's normal. So let's just go ahead and do a round of IUI, intrauterine implantation. And so we do our first round, nothing. We do our second round, nothing. We get to our third round, and up to this point, I was stressed out, but I hadn't really experienced anxiety yet. And I show up and I'm having debilitating anxiety on the day of our third implantation. And I go in and I'm talking to the nurse and I'm like, I don't think today's the day. And she looks at me and she was like, are you serious? I'm like, can we just sit this round out? Can I just go home? And she's like, let me go and get the doctor. And the doctor walks in and the doctor says, I hear we have a dramatic patient in here. And I said, whatever people-pleasing perfectionist would. No, 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 no. Everything's fine. Let's just do it. And so we did the implantation, and lo and behold, I was pregnant. So we got all the testing. I was pregnant, and I was like, oh, see, I'm never right. People know better than I do. So I should just sit back, listen to what they're telling me. And then we get blood tests, and then we get another one, and then we get another one. And on that third one, they call and they say, you're going to have a miscarriage this weekend. And I'm like, wait, what? I'm so confused. I don't necessarily understand what all these numbers mean. There's no one here to guide me. And they're like, yeah, you're going to have a miscarriage this weekend. And they said, okay. And they just hang up. And that was really the point in time where I didn't realize it at the time, but I was really deep in the fertility journey and the pain of the fertility journey. Up until that, I had all these ideas that there were solutions or something I was just going to get through and overcome. And in that moment, I realized that this would be life-altering for me. I ended up having an ectopic pregnancy that they also did not take my phone calls about. So I had to wait. So I had internal bleeding for about 2 days before finally I was able to go in and have emergency surgery. And that was the moment that my husband and I really had to take a step back and decide what's going to be best for us and how are we staying whole in this journey of fertility for our family.
Yeah. That's quite a road. And that question that you just asked, how are we going to stay whole through this journey? I mean, I just got chills because it is such a fragmenting process. And even that experience of having a doctor gaslight you essentially, and oh, we have a dramatic patient here. Like, I mean, what one has to perform in order to move through that experience with a figure of authority is ultimately fragmenting your being. And how do you stay whole through that? Like, what were the next steps for you as a whole person, for your husband to move through this?
Well, I won't say that it was pretty. So all those certifications, all the skills and the person I have now, that didn't exist then. So it was a lot of crying, a lot of fighting. So for me, I lived by like, pick yourself up by your bootstraps and like figure out what the next thing is. So 3 days after my surgery, I mean, I was signed up for a 220-mile race with a team of 6. And so I literally was like, well, cool. If I can't get pregnant, I'm at least going to train. So out to the road I went. And I spent years just kind of was so mad at what my body couldn't do that I just went through this whole thing of destroying it. I had never really loved my body to begin with. I'd fought with eating disorders and self-worth issues for many years. And now there was just like another layer to it, right? Of another thing that my body couldn't do, or it didn't look the way that I wanted it to, and it wasn't performing the way that I wanted it to. So I trained and I ran and we partied a lot and we tried to figure out all of these pieces. And eventually my husband, he just said, and he's not like me. He's very quiet. He's very steady. He's very sure. And he came to me one day and he said, I just don't think we can keep going with the medical side of this. I think it's going to destroy us. He's like, I'm so scared. I can't think about you in the hospital. Like, it really scared me. I don't know what to do. And so that's when we started the process of looking into adoption. I got so blessed because that decision then prompted what became the wholeness for me. Because inside that decision, I knew that I needed counseling. I was like, oh, I'm going to have to share motherhood, something that has been a gift that has not been given to me through naturally, like through my womb, those pieces. And now I'm going to have to share it. And anyone that's creating an adoption plan for their child, they're going through hard things. Their life does not look the same way financially, socially, support wise that you and I's lives look. And so I was like, I'm going to need support because the things that they think are normal, if I was pregnant, those are not things I would be embarking on. And I can't hate the person that's bringing my child into the world. And right now, I would on multiple levels.
Yeah.
And it was like that awareness, you know? And so so then it led down, it started counseling, it started my own personal growth. But it was really my husband saying, like, I don't think we can do this. And then me just taking a step back and being like, wow, in my body, he feels right. And we can always come back to it. But right now we need to look in a different avenue.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about that power of choice and making the choice to look into adoption. Is that something that you'd always thought, okay, if this can't happen for us through my own womb, then we would look into this? Or was there a lot of unfolding that was required to come to that choice?
Okay, how ancient, sacred, deep do you want to go here?
Let's get weird.
Let's do it. Okay. So at the time, I was like, at that specific time, I'm like, oh, we've always been fine with adoption. My husband's mom is one of 8 adopted children.
Wow.
So it had been a part of our life. And so I was like, oh, yeah, both of us are fine with that. It was kind of like a decision we always thought we would do to supplement our family. We just didn't think it would be the only means of us having a family. And so we were okay with that decision. Now, fast forward, we have now adopted 2 children, and our oldest son will hopefully be adopted in about a month. So super exciting stuff over here.
Yeah.
But fast forward to right before Katie, the meetup Katie was talking about, the last time that we saw each other, right before I went to that event, I got this calling that I needed to start looking through all of my old stuff. So at the end of my bed, there's this cedar chest, and it's got everything from like 7th, 8th grade all the way up till my freshman year of college. And I'm like, dude, I sleep with this stuff every night. There's like pictures of old boyfriends, like love letters, like friend letters with my friends. I'm like, I just want to see what's in here. I haven't looked in years. I just lug it around everywhere I go. So I open it up. I find in there, this is so crazy. I find in there a poem that I wrote in 8th grade in creative writing class about being unable to conceive. And I literally called it like the splintering. And so it was about it literally like ripping me apart. And then it was like, it just kept going. It was like 2.5 pages. I literally have chills. And at the end of the poem, the last stanza goes, and finally the splintering was complete. And my husband placed Adriana in my arms, and we were whole again. So I wrote this whenever I was like 12, 13 years old. My first adopted son is Aiden.
I mean, I kid you not. I don't know how well you can see them on screen. I mean, like full body goosebumps.
Yeah.
That is wild. And you had no conscious recollection of this poem that you'd written.
None. None.
Wow. I didn't see that coming. You really saved that nugget for me.
I haven't told anyone else. Like, no one else has ever heard that story besides like 1 or 2 friends.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that with us. I mean, Okay, the existential stuff is coming out now. Like, it just feels like there's so much that we'll never truly understand.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm curious about is, was there anything that was required for you that needed to be like open in order for you to hear those words from your husband?
Mm.
Like, were you receptive to that at the time, or did it take a while for you to be like, yeah, you're right, that needs to be the next step?
It's funny because I don't remember now my reaction, but I like to be the one in control. So I'm guessing that was a very similar reaction now to like when I, tell him that we need to like complete all these things and all these chores and I can't do it by myself. And he's like, Nicole, do we really need to get that done? Nicole, I'm guessing it was a very similar reaction because patterns are patterns, as we know. So
Yes.
I'm guessing I wasn't just like, yes, my husband, the all-knowing. Let's do this.
I can't imagine anyone else listening will know what it feels like to want to be in control all the time. I don't know what that's like at all.
Yeah, it was. So I think just knowing what my patterns have been up to this point, sometimes he plants a nugget and then it's like I just have to like marinate on it for a
Mm-hmm.
while. I will also say I thought that still at this time, I still thought there was going to be something that saved me. I had this belief that I was going to be a mother. Or else, why would I have kept going on this journey? Like, there was always this thing in the back of my head that was like, you're going to be a mom, you're going to be a mom, you're going to be a mom. No matter what was happening, it was like it wouldn't be quiet. And it was more than just like wanting an outcome, right? It was more than just like, oh, I just need to achieve this thing. There was also like a deep, profound truth in it. And even though I knew adoption was going to be hard and I recognized I need the counseling, I thought it was going to be easier. I was like, okay, maybe we won't have any more miscarriages. Maybe we'll be one of those lucky couples that adopts and then naturally gets pregnant because everyone's telling me how stressed out I am, right? Like the advice givers. It's not only just the positions that you should be doing, it's also like how you should be eating. And it's also that you're too stressed out or you should quit your job and then you would probably get pregnant. Or, yeah, go ahead and adopt and then you'll get pregnant. Like worst things that people can say to people who are growing a family.
Yeah.
But also like, I think there was something in me that's like, maybe that's going to be true. So maybe this is just like the next thing. Again, why I needed counseling, right? It was like, that was never going to feel good. That was never going to actually work for our family and keep us whole. So I was gifted with the next thing, which was a failed adoption, our first adoption. We were with with the biological mother for about 7 months. And at the end of those 7 months, at the hospital, she decided to parent. And the reason I say gifted, it did not feel like that at the time, just so everybody knows, I did not get out of my closet or my bed. I was in one of those two places for about 7 days. After that, just wrecked. But it was such a gift because it helped me realize that there wasn't going to be an easy choice now. So all I could do is choose what was right in my heart and in my body. I could not leave myself behind anymore because there wasn't some adoption agency or a lawyer or a biological parent or a physician in a white coat or some other experimental treatment or anything else that was just all of a sudden going to magically give me what I desired. So the choice wasn't adoption or IVF or IUI or a new nutrition plan or anything like that. The choice was, can you just listen to you? And what tools do you need to be able to do that? So that no matter what the outcome is, whether it's a failed adoption or whether it's your baby coming home with you, that you can feel good and you know that you can get through that.
That's a really important point of what I hope people can take away from this is what tools do you need so that you can feel good no matter what? Not that things aren't going to be hard. I mean, shit, like this world has some stuff going right now. And I know you and I, as sensitive practitioners, we are in it a lot. And our patients and our clients are in it. And neither one of us is going to promote this toxic positivity soup that we see floating around with affirmations and, just it's all going to work out. It's like, well, somehow, for whatever plan God, universe, creator has for us, like it's all working out, even when it's hard and it feels like absolute crap. And we're going to need some tools to get through that so that we don't have to live in the closet all the time.
Yeah. It was smelly in there without a shower for 7 days.
Oh, goodness.
It was bad. My husband, he crawled into bed with me. Like, that was the moment that I kind of broke out of it. But he crawled into bed with me and he laid down and he said, I will lay in this bed with you as long as you need me to. I love you so much. And you have to shower. Really I couldn't help it. I busted up laughing. And it was in that moment that I realized life is lifing. Life is hard and it's beautiful, but right now it's hard. And I just got to get up and shower. And it was okay, what's the next little thing that I can do? Not a big thing, not a 200-mile race that I needed to train for. It's what's the little thing that I can do today? And for that day, it was showering. And eventually I was able to go back to work, and eventually we were able to adopt our first son, and then we were able to adopt my daughter, and then she had a full biological sibling. We had no idea we were going to have 3 kids. She had a full biological sibling, so we had a 14-year-old move in with us about 2 months after we had a newborn. So it was a wild and beautiful ride, and lots of bumps along the way. And the tools, everybody probably listening is familiar with you, but the tools that you offer, I didn't have those in a fertility incubator. So I was going to all these physical therapy courses, and I would go and I would listen about mindset, and I'd be like, oh, okay, I need that for me, over here, cool, that's good for my patients. And also ooh, I'm kind of a mess, in this area of my life. And then I learned about talking to yourself specific ways, not crazy positive affirmations all the time, but listening to your emotions and actually processing those, realizing the wounds that all this was going to bring up. I have this, I swear I just came here with it. I think I'm supposed to resolve it here, but not good enough. And so it was why am I the person that's not good enough to be able to get pregnant? Why am I the person that's not good enough that this, biological mom looks at us and then decides to parent? Why am I not good enough that I'm going to all these interviews with all these other people? We're sitting in cars in Panera parking lots. If you want to butt up against your not good enough wound, a fertility adoption journey, you will hit it. We're sitting in Panera parking lots with other families. Couples get out, they walk in, they interview with a lawyer and a biological parent, they come back out, the next couple goes in, and then you're not chosen. And you're was it the way I talked? Was it the way I look? What was wrong with me? And at some point you have to decide. You can get lost in that, completely destroyed in it.
Yeah.
Or you can be who out there has some tools that can help me figure out that I'm enough so I can keep going in this journey. This is where I'm supposed to be. I'm supposed to be a mom, but I can't do it like this. I just won't make it.
Yeah. I think this highlights a few things. One, and just obviously everyone listening, I think, already knows this, but just in case they happen to send this to a loving family member who's not on the fertility journey, it's a reminder that adoption is not easier. So that little nugget of advice that people leave of like, just adopt, it's like, that still has its own set of challenges. There's still you're butting up against your own limitations within that too, or your perceived limitations. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. Why don't they like me? Like, that's all going to come out through this process. The other piece of it is, we talk about the tools, and, you and I we both have some very similar training that we've actually done together. It's how we met. But then you've got some really specific training that I've really appreciated learning about from like your workshops, and how to identify, like, how do we know when we're stressed out? What do we notice in the body? Are there tools that we can use to identify this? So I would love to talk a little bit about that so that people can come away from this conversation with some resourcing as well.
Okay, this is like get ready. This is my passion project. Okay, there is literally a test. We all love tests. We all love results, most people. And there is a test that will let you know at any given time what your mental and emotional state is and how much stress you can handle. So what your stress resiliency is. That test is really easy. It takes about 40 seconds and it's free.
We like free stuff. Free tests, especially.
Isn't that amazing?
In a world where a hysterosalpingogram is $700, a free test. Hallelujah.
Yay! And so this can really help you. This was life-changing for me. Because if you can know how much stress you can handle, then you can know, like we were talking about before, choice-wise. Do I need to take a choice to pause, or am I okay to keep going, right? It's like, what does my emotional body need right now? And the test is called CO2 tolerance, so carbon dioxide tolerance. I want to give you guys just a little bit of a background because I think it's really important to understand, especially because a lot of us are embarking in a lot of like medical treatments. So most people think that they need to breathe because you need oxygen, right? It's actually not.
It's safe to assume that most people would believe that.
Right. Nope. The reason that you have the urge to take a breath is because you actually need to expel carbon dioxide. So it's the reason why if you hold your breath for a really long time, anybody that's ever done those like kid challenges in the pool and you go underwater and you're like, oh, I need to take a breath, but I want to last just a little bit longer. You'll like blow out a bubble. You'll be like, pfft, and you can stay a little bit longer because you told your brain when you blew off that little bit of carbon dioxide, okay, I'm safe. So the trigger in order to feel the need to breathe is because your carbon dioxide tolerance is like it's reached, whatever it is. Now, the really interesting thing about that, how that relates to stress, is carbon dioxide is actually the byproduct of the energy of your cells. So your mitochondria, which is like creating all the energy that you need, the byproduct as it creates that energy is carbon dioxide. So you can imagine how much energy would your body need if you were getting chased by a tiger?
Lots of energy.
Lots of energy. So you would want to be able to expel off lots of carbon dioxide, which is why if you're getting chased by a tiger or, you're trying to run a world-class race and, beat your best time or whatever, or your kid runs down the driveway. And I mean, I have like a 400-meter driveway. So I'm like booking it because they're probably already halfway down there. I'm like, I better get them before they get to the road. You would breathe, mouth open, big, heavy chest breaths like this. Right? We've all done that before. Now, that is creating that CO2 tolerance. That is the same thing, though, that happens if you have really high stress in general, like Susie at the office is being mean to you. Your boss sent you an email and said they want to have a closed-door meeting with you. You're going through a fertility journey and you don't want anyone to know, so you're plastering on your happy face. I mean, I remember getting phone calls about like adoptions that didn't work out while I was in the middle of work. I would literally take the phone call and I would be like, thank you so much, put a big smile on, and walk right back into patient care. So, but my body wasn't just okay with all of those things. It was in that fight or flight response, or even in that shutdown, that freeze or dorsal vagal. So it was creating all of these CO2, which was then causing me to need to mouth breathe or over breathe. And then that was limiting everything else. So this is how it just relates. So the CO2 tolerance test will just tell you essentially how much byproduct can you actually handle? How much stress, how much more stress in your body can you handle? So everybody, you guys can test it. We won't spend a whole minute just running a clock for you guys, but you guys can do this. Grab your cell phones, open up the clock app, run the stopwatch. You're not going to start it yet. You're going to take the first breath in through your nose, breathe it out your nose or mouth. Second breath, exact same thing, in through your nose, breathing it out your nose or mouth. Now, third one, this is the important one. In through your nose, we're going to pause at the top, in through your nose. Now, mouth closed, you're going to exhale out your nose only as long and as slow as you can and start that timer as soon as you start exhaling. You're going to stop that timer if you swallow or you stop exhaling. And that's where you're going to know. Now, if you are in the 0 to 20 category, your ability to tolerate stress is very low. Your nervous system is extremely dysregulated. And I say this with so much love for anyone that's like me. Mine was a 7. I could tolerate 0 stress. That's why, like, I was constantly going through these cycles of burnout. And I was like, maybe if I get a new job, oh my gosh, okay, 5 more weeks till vacation. I can make it till then. And if I get a week off, everything will be okay. And I was just constantly chasing the need for a break. Okay, I'll just call in sick to work today. If I can sleep 12 hours, then I'll be okay. Then I can go back to work. I can finish out the rest of the week. I can get caught up. So if you're doing that already mentally, you probably already know, but a lot of us like to see a factual test. Now, the cool thing is if you're in the 0 to 20, there's really easy things that you can do to continue to improve it. And then it just goes up from there. So 21 to 40, you are moderately dysregulated and you have still a lot of room for improvement. 41 to 60, this is about average. This is where we would love to see everyone hang out at for the most part. And then 61 to 80, that's like elite. Like you're just crushing the stress world. Ain't nothing going to get you down.
I would just be so curious to like know what the average actual like American hustling working person's CO2 tolerance looks like. Not just, I don't know, average human. Like most people I meet are pretty stressed out in their own ways, even the ones who are like, no, I'm fine.
I've done this test with about 152 people inside the happiness cycle and my one-on-one coaching. And then I've done this test probably with another, I'd say 300 just like on stage and speaking. So looking at that, I have only had 5 people that were in the 41 to 60 category. Other than that, everyone else was under that, with majority, I would say 70% of people falling in the 0 to 20.
Yeah, I would say that lines up too. I've been using this test also really since you reminded me of its existence. As a physiology undergrad, it was one of those things that was like, it was in our physiology test, but honestly, our instructor was such a misogynistic, patriarchal piece of work that like that was one of those classes. Like the only reason I got an A in that class was just to prove this motherfucker that like women can do hard things. And then I allowed most of that information to leave my brain. And Well, it's just true.
I love you so much.
And I mean, we like as a class, we ran some experiments on this just to prove that like this was a thing that was happening in class. But CO2 tolerance in one ear, out the other, just to get the A. It was so terrible. So when you reminded me of it, I was like, oh my gosh, why am I not using this? So it's probably been since about, I don't know, May of last year that I've been incorporating it into our program as well. And I would agree with you. Most people are sitting in that 20 or so second range. And so for the people who are like feeling like, yeah, I know that like life is full and there's this going on, but like I'm handling it fine. Like let's evaluate that more honestly so that we can actually get a different result.
Yes. And that's the thing. This isn't another test to be like, oh, great, I'm stressed out just like everyone says that I am. It's really a test so that you can begin to help yourself, because this doesn't have to be a huge thing. I improved mine. Mine hovers about 36 to 38. One day I had a 41. I was pretty proud of myself. But you can just I do a CO2 walk. So 10 minutes every day, my mouth closed, and I breathe in and out through my nose. And I try to do 5 seconds on the inhale, 5 seconds on the exhale. That is the only thing for the most part that I did for myself. And so in a world where we talk about, you talked about the patriarchy and misogyny and things like that, what that society says is you need to do more. That's why morning routines are like, you should wake up and you should do a meditation, and then you should do breath work, and then you should journal, and then you should sit by yourself, and then you should ground in the grass. And before you know it, you have 50 minutes. And that's not reality for majority of us. And then society says, well, of course you're not healthy. You haven't done what you should do. That's just not true. You can change your nervous system in as little as 2 minutes, like literally biochemical changes. They've done brain mapping. You can get all these changes. So don't fall into that of like, well, now I know that I'm stressed and there's absolutely nothing I can do about it. I'm just going to keep being stressed out because that's just who I am. Just pick a small, itty bitty little chunk, because I promise you it'll be enough.
Yes. Thank you. All of you can go back and listen to episode 7 if you want a reminder of the doing versus the being conversation and how we can accidentally get caught up in this cycle of just doing and doing and doing and doing more, and making that assumption that like, well, I'm broken, so I have to be fixed, so I have to do more to fix myself. And even well-meaning practitioners can contribute to the layering in of doing and doing more. So a simple walk with your mouth closed. I love it.
And those of you guys, your partners, if you talk as much as me, your partners will be like, my husband thinks it's the best thing ever.
Forced silence.
I used to tape my mouth. Like when I was first doing this stuff, I would tape my mouth shut and watch TV. And it really saved our marriage, guys. It was really, that's how we made it to 14 years.
There you go, guys. Part 2. 14 seconds to keep your mouth shut.
It's awesome.
It is. Before we begin to wrap up, are there any other resources that you lean into to support moving through these really hard moments?
Honestly, I think it's the question that I said at the very beginning. Wholeness is, I only have 2 standard core values that I live by. And what I mean by live by is I make every single decision based on these 2 things. The first one is wholeness, and the second one is family. There are a lot of people that put family as their core value, and it's because they already choose family every day. That was not the same for me. So I just want to highlight that really quickly. Family is a core value because I love work. Like I could sit here, you guys can probably feel it like with me and Dr. Katie, like I could sit here for 3 hours and talk about this stuff. I love it. And I worked really hard for the family that I have now. And they need to be a huge priority. And I need that reminder. So that is why family is there, is because every choice I make, when I got asked to be on this podcast and I was picking out a date, I had to actually go out 2 weeks, even though I really wanted the next available spot. Because when I checked the core value of family, it just didn't work. I was like, no, actually, I really need to be home on those days. Oh, actually, like I already am working 3 late nights that week. Like that's just not another thing that I should put on my schedule right now. I should get home early, take the kids to the pool. And the wholeness one, I do the exact same thing. The question that I ask myself with any decision is, does this increase my wholeness? If the answer is yes, then the answer is yes. If the answer is no, it's an automatic no for me. If the answer is like just kind of neutral, like I'm not sure, then I'll go and like kind of check family. If it's still neutral, I'll just check the goals in my life. Does this actually like move me forward to where I'm trying to go? But that would be my other just kind of follow-up thing, is figure out what is important to you. What are you about? 2 to 3 things, and just put them on sticky notes all over your house, in your car, put it in your pocket, and make every decision from, am I going to drink that cup of coffee, to, do I want to, do a 6-hour interview today? Do I want to see 14 patients today? Or do I want to take my kids to the pool today? And look at that lens and just see, where does that land? Because you'll find that you can start making decisions a lot faster, make those choices a lot faster, and you can stick by your decisions and feel really good about what you're doing.
I don't think we have enough time to talk about values and how I mean, I know my whole worldview sort of like turned upside down when I started learning more about value systems as well. But it is true that when you know your own values, when you know how to tune into your own tuition, it's like nothing outside of you can push you into something that you can then look back on and think like, why did I let myself do that? Mm-hmm. How did I become the victim here? Like, there is part of being able to step into an identity of being empowered when you know your values and you know how to tune into your intuition and you have tools to regulate yourself. Because I don't know about you, when I'm in dorsal freeze mode, making a decision isn't really a thing.
Yeah, same. I'm the same when I'm in fight or flight. I'm like, I literally am so stressed out, and I just like, I can't even function either. I'm like, forget it.
Yeah. So don't worry, you guys. At some point, there will be a conversation around tools to move through fight, flight, freeze. That will come. Don't fret. You don't need to do anything more today. Just be. Breathe through your nose while you walk a little bit. Learn what feels important to you. And Dr. Nicole, I'm so appreciative of you, of your honesty and your vulnerability and your laugh. For those of you who joined right at the beginning, like I don't even know, did we say words yet before the giggles just kicked in?
No. You tried to be all serious.
We've got our blazers on. We didn't even plan this, guys.
I love us.
Oh, gosh. Okay. Well, this was such an amazing conversation. I feel like we just covered such a spectrum of experiences and emotions. And if you guys wanted to work with Dr. Nicole, how would they go about doing that?
I love this. I would love to connect with all of you. And so you guys can go to mobilityathletes.com. You can scroll all the way to the bottom and send me an email. You can go to Mobility Athletes on Instagram. I run my Instagram. I answer anything that you send there. And you can also start to just kind of watch things and see what I teach about and if that lands for you, or if something in one of the stories that I shared hits home with you. I would love to just connect with you, whether you want to work together or not. I think us having a bigger and vaster community is essential in the world that we're living in today. So please don't hesitate to reach out. Just send me a message. Like, let's connect. Let's be real human beings connecting with other real human beings. And Happiness Cycle runs every quarter. It's a 6-week program. So if you're feeling this draw, like, I want to be able to do more, and I want to help more people without these cycles of like burnout and overwhelm, then that's really the place in the community for you. It continues to grow. We've helped over 58 women now, and we hosted our first retreat. So there's an option for live event as well as an online community, which helps bring a lot of people together. So I would love to see you guys in that, and I would just love to have conversation with you.
I can only imagine it as just an extension of your way of being and allowing people's authenticity to shine through. I've got to figure out when I can make that happen.
Yes. I would love to.
All right, Dr. Nicole, sending you so much love. I wish I could give you the biggest hug across the screen here. Thank you guys so much for listening. Be sure to give us a rating, leave a review in Apple Podcasts, and head over to Mobility Athletes on Instagram and let Dr. Nicole know what your takeaways were from this interview today and what you might want to learn more about in the future.